the topic today, 5 steps to a successful move. Well, the first step, and we've covered a lot of these steps along the way, but the first step is creating that what if plan. What is my plan? Do I want to age in place? And how is that going to work? And can I? And what might happen at some point down the road that would cause me to not be able to continue to age in place? So that's really the hardest step, is taking that time to do the homework, do your research, because it's up to you as to what you want to do. And it may be a 2-part plan. It may be, okay, here's the plan for now, short term. Some people, there may be an interim move, and then there might be a third move. And you might want to decide, well, do I want to do that? Or do I just want to stay in one place the whole time? So all part of your planning, taking into consideration your lifestyle, your healthcare needs now, and what you want in place in the future, your financial wherewithal, and then all those questions that you really need to ask yourself. And they're hard questions, but only you can decide what that looks like and what's right for you. So you've created your plan. Well, that's nice. You're not just going to put it in your back pocket or in your file drawer. You're going to tell people about your plan. And most of us, the first people we think about are our loved ones, right? Our family. You're not asking for permission, but you're telling them of your intentions because you've done the research and you know what you want to have happen. And this is primarily so that, A, they can support you in the ways that you want to be supported when the time comes, that they'll know what you've been thinking about. And if for some horrible reason you are in a spot in the future where you can't make your own decisions, I don't think you want other people making them for you. I don't want other people making decisions for me. I'm a little bit, spunky about that. I want to make my own decisions. So you want to make sure that your kids, your loved ones, your sisters, your brothers, your trusted advisors, maybe your attorneys, your CPAs, your financial advisors, know what your intentions are. And then the next step would be, and who are those people that are going to help make that happen? So you may want to even share those names with them as well. I know that adult children, this is a gift you give them because we worry that we have to make decisions for our parents and it may not be what they wanted, but yet we never had that conversation. I know we've talked about this before, but if you haven't done steps 1 and 2, that's your homework for today. You're going to go and start working on this. I know many of you have this going already. Now, the step 3 is surrounding yourself with the right professionals. And that's why we have some of these wonderful people here today. Because when you think about making a move, and again, that's the topic, a successful move, it's an emotional and physical challenge for anyone almost at any age, really. But then who's going to help you? And what help do you need? And even if you're 30, a move involves a mover, possibly a packer, a move manager. It involves a real estate agent. It'll involve a title and escrow officer, an appraiser, inspectors, and the list goes on and on and on. And if you're selling your home, you may have some repairs, so you might need a handyman or contractor. You might need to bring in some specialists for specific issues going on with your home that you didn't know about before you did your inspections. So, who are those people and who is going to help you project manage all that? Because there's a lot of moving parts and people involved. It's like a puzzle. But never fear, there's people that can help you. You don't need to go this alone. And of course, one of those items is, okay, step 4, what do we do with our stuff? Right? That's always, and we've already had a couple talks on that earlier this year. Who went to those talks about the stuff? Yeah. So was that helpful? Good. Perfect. So what do we do about the stuff? And then step 5 is, okay, we survived. We made the move. And we're still alive. And this is a good thing. And then how do we celebrate this new chapter? And it takes time, and you have to give yourself grace and patience. It's like anything new when you move to a new place, new surroundings, new people, new schedules maybe. things that you're doing differently that you didn't used to do. So it takes time, and you just need to be a little patient with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. So that was a real quick overview of the 5 steps. But I want to dig into some of my questions for my speakers because they are very important pieces of this whole moving puzzle that we rely on to help you get through this with the least amount of stress and overwhelm as possible, make it easier for you, more quick, and hopefully save you some time and money. So let me just ask each of them here today to give a brief introduction. You may have seen maybe 1 or 2 of their faces before, but Kurt, who are you and what do you do?
Good morning. I'm Kurt Lenhart with Lenhart Home Services. We do home inspections here in the Bay Area, all through the Bay Area and the Valley. And I've been doing it for 24 years with my son, Sean. But he gave himself a day off today, and so I was happy to come in and sit down and talk with you guys today.
Perfect. They are the best. It's Sean's birthday today, and it's my wedding anniversary today. So, yeah, who knew we'd still be going strong? Cynthia.
Hi, am I talking too loud?
No, you're good.
Sounds loud.
No, you're good.
I'm Cynthia Nolan, and I own a company called Carefree Moves. We're a move coordination business. I've had it since 2009, and it originated in Rossmore. I met this lovely woman who had a small business called Carefree Moves, and we became friends, and I was so fascinated by what she, did. And at the time, I was staging homes for like 10 years, so I totally could identify with what she was doing and staging. So anyway, the best thing about it is that we're an all-woman company. No offense to the guys, but women do get it, how to get organized. And so anyway, it's a wonderful business, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Nice. Joe, introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Jaffe. I'm the owner of Chic Home Interiors Home Staging, and we've owned this business for almost 3 years. And we do a lot of work with Dayna, and we work all over the Bay Area, San Francisco, Peninsula. We just love what we do because it completely transforms spaces and adds value to properties, and we'll talk more about that. I am definitely not a boomer. I'm definitely not a savvy senior, so I think I'm a Zoomer.
Well, I don't know. In my definition, a Zoomer is a senior that's just still on the go.
Okay, well, I'm headed one of those ways. I'm not sure.
We all are.
But look forward to talking to you more about it as we continue. Thanks.
Nice. I'm just going to dig in here and ask Kurt to tell us a little bit about your industry. So, we want to know, do inspectors receive specialized training, education, certifications? And then what qualities should a person inquire about when hiring someone to do an inspection, in general?
Okay. In California, you do not need to have a license to do home inspections, okay? So there are companies and organizations that certify home inspectors, and that's what I've gone through. It's called CREA, it's the California Real Estate Inspectors Association, and they require so many hours of extended education, and then you can get certified through CREA. There's ASHI, there's many different kinds, but basically you want to make sure that you hire somebody qualified and experienced. I've been just solely doing home inspections for 24 years, and prior to that I was a heating and air conditioning and plumbing and electrical contractor. So this is really, right out of high school I was in construction labor, so it's all I know. I can't be a doctor or a lawyer or anything else. So, but mostly you want to get referrals, and she's a wonderful source for referrals because she's been doing it so long and works with so many different people.
And then
Right.
are there different licenses that you can speak to? Because even though Kurt doesn't do the pest inspection,
Yeah.
he knows about it. I didn't want all the inspectors here today. You know, when you are selling your home, we suggest sellers strongly consider doing pre-sale inspections. It's even in your listing contract that the California Association of Realtors attorneys have underlined and written in bold, saying that you may not know, all the issues regarding your home unless you do inspections. So we always recommend doing at least a pest and a home inspection, minimum. And sometimes those inspections will call out other items that, gosh, we didn't know about, that you may want to address, so that there's no surprises once you're in escrow. Because then people start getting a little emotional. Now there's money on the table, right? So a buyer, though, may want to do a home, a pest, chimney, HVAC, sewer lateral, roof, pool, spa. I mean, it just depends on your property. Kurt doesn't do all those things, but minimum home and pest. And it keeps you in the driver's seat. And that's the whole point. We want to keep the most amount of money in your pocket, having you net the most amount of money. And sometimes you can correct an item or issue with a simple handyman visit and just fix some of these things so that a buyer, in the heat of being in escrow, doesn't want to just come along, find out things they didn't know about because you didn't provide inspections. They do their inspections. Now they want to take a major haircut off of their offer. And that's not a good feeling for anyone. So you wanted to say about licensing for pest?
Yes, pest is handled through the state pest control board. So they're monitored and have to send their reports into them, and it's a whole separate inspection. But really, you have a choice when you're going to be selling your property. You can either be proactive or reactive, okay? Being proactive, most of the agents that I work with now, when they're going to list someone's house, require them to have a home inspection, a pest inspection, a roof inspection, and a sewer lateral inspection, okay? Because those are the four things that can give you real issues. You may be able to flush a toilet and run a sink, but the possible buyers of that house moves in with 4 kids and is really putting that drainage system to a test. There's no way that you know how efficient your sewer lateral is until they run a camera down it and check for roots and checks for breaks. And these are all things that can come up after you've already got an offer accepted on your house and you're all happy and you're going to have all this profit from your house, and then you don't have any inspections done. So now a buyer comes in, gets all these inspections done, and now they find out there's $20,000 worth of pest damage, and you've got a cracked foundation, and you've got issues with your sewer lateral. So now you're being reactive to what actually is going on with your property. And you would be surprised on the inspections that we do for sellers of homes, that when we start summarizing and going over issues that we found, they absolutely, well, how often on a weekend when you don't have anything to do you go in your attic or your crawl space, okay? Nobody does that, right? But that's what we do. So there's all kinds of areas in your home that you're not aware of any problems, but you could have problems. So much better to be proactive.
Yeah. What are 2 common issues that you discover at your inspections that sellers had no idea was going on with their home?
Okay, well, we'll just go to yesterday.
Okay, just yesterday. Fresh in his mind.
Just yesterday.
Okay. Wasn't one of mine, was it?
No,
Okay, good.
no. I was in Walnut Creek, though. I was over here. So people don't realize how detrimental rodents can be to your house, okay? They chew holes in ducts. They chew wiring in your attic. They leave their remains all over the place. They multiply fast and can really cause damage to the interior and the attic and crawl space and garage of a house. So some people had their HVAC changed out about 5 years ago and didn't do anything with the rodent issue. So the system just wasn't working right. And I was in the attic, climbing around through the attic, and there's traps all over the place and droppings all over the place. And as I keep going forward, well, there's perfectly round holes in just about every one of the flexible ducts up in the attic. So now, instead of delivering that conditioned air into the interior of your home, it's just keeping the attic nice and cool and nice and warm. So there's that people don't realize, because you don't go up in your attic and check your attic. But, I would give you this little clue, is if you see any rodents out of the corner of your eye scooting across your backyard or going somewhere, hire a professional, because it can get into, there was just a house a couple weeks ago that had a rodent problem that we discovered in the attic. And it was a $17,000 repair because they had to remove all the insulation in the attic. And then once they removed the insulation in the attic, they found that they had chewed through some of the electrical cables in some of the Romex in the attic. So then they had to bring in an electrician, have him replace the Romex that they had chewed through. So
We had that same issue in our house.
there's one instance.
Yee. We thought we heard, little rodent fraternity parties going on up in the attic here. Can we save our questions to the end?
I think you said flexible
Ductwork.
ductwork. That's that spirally stuff?
Yeah. The newest flexible ductwork, we've gotten smart and to have developed flexible ductwork that has almost like foil on the outside of it, right? Which they won't chew through, right? It's just like aluminum foil in our teeth. They don't chew through that. But the older vinyl wrap ductwork, they just go right through.
Okay, so why can't someone's contractor do the inspection?
Well, because this is all we do every single day for the last 24 years, 2 to 3 homes a day, 5 to 6 days a week. Somebody else do the math. But this is what we do. We just do this over and over and over again. We're not running saws anymore. We're not specialized in that. We don't do any repairs. But what we do specialize in is making sure that things are safe and operational, which you don't know how many times I've reviewing something with someone and they say, well, yeah, but I hired a contractor to do that work. Well, it's just like what you go back and say. When doctors graduate, there's some that had A's and there's some that didn't have A's. So it's not that just because you're a licensed contractor does not mean that you know everything. And they're cutting boards, they're measuring, they're doing all their stuff all day long, and they're very good at it. But drilling down on a house to every little aspect of it is a whole different ballgame.
I mean, they get really detailed, and we're going to talk about what they actually call out on the report and how they do it by section and what the differences are in a minute. I think the most common thing that I see on almost every report that we do together is a leak somewhere. There's always a leak somewhere, which often it's easily fixed.
Yeah, but it just goes back to what I said earlier. When you don't have anything to do on the weekend, you don't pull your crawl space hatch up and climb underneath there and run all your fixtures like we do and climb down there and look for leaks. But that's just part of our training. That's part of what we do. Before we go in a crawl space, we have all the wash basins, all the bathtubs, all the showers running, actively running, so we can see active leaks. And so there's stuff that gets discovered, but you want to know about it ahead of time rather than afterwards.
And so how do people in your industry determine fees that they charge for these inspections? 'Cause
Square footage.
Okay.
It's a square footage of the home.
is there like a general industry standard in this area?
No,
Really?
no,
Oh,
no.
you can just charge whatever you want?
Yes, you can.
Huh.
But you have to make a profit, and you also want to stay in business. So you gotta be somewhere that everybody's happy with.
And I will say, I'm not going to name names, but I used to work, and a lot of my associates used to work with a company that would bring in, they had everything. So they'd bring in the home, the pest, and the roof inspectors all in one call. So it was easy for agents. They were terrible. Yes, they were the most reasonably priced. They were terrible. They missed things all the time. They had to come back sometimes. In 2 cases, they had to come back 3 times. I found termites in my agent visual inspection, and their professional inspectors didn't even find termites. So it does matter who you hire to do your inspection. I'm just saying, because we've learned the hard way. Okay, so we've already talked about licensing. Let's just dig into what you look for and how you call out an action item versus a consideration item versus a maintenance item. We'll start with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So action items have something to do with health and safety, a system that's not working properly, something, you got a cracked foundation, something like that. A consideration item is something, they use the wrong type of drain pipe. They use flexible drain pipe instead of solid, smooth drain pipe. That's not causing a problem right now, but could cause a problem in the future. And a maintenance item is something like you don't have your sink caulked or backsplash not caulked, and that's kind of a maintenance thing. Caulking in a bathroom is a maintenance thing. You always have to do that. But, so that's kind of how those are broke down. But I was just going to tell you a few things that you can do yourself, or you can have a handyman do to sell your property in the state of California. There's only a few requirements, okay? The first is you have to have a smoke detector, a 10-year sealed lithium battery smoke detector in each sleeping room, and one in the hallway outside the sleeping rooms. You have to have a carbon monoxide detector on each level of the building. If you have a gas appliance installed in the building, or you have an attached garage. So if you have a 2-story, you need a carbon monoxide detector upstairs, and you need one downstairs, okay? And smoke detectors in each sleeping room and in the hallway. And the last thing is, your water heater needs to be strapped properly, okay? And if it's less than 75 gallons, it just needs 2 straps. And you can go home this afternoon and do a very easy test on that. If it's strapped properly, you have 2 straps, but it has to be strapped to the building. It has to be solid. So you can just take the palm of your hand and push on your water heater gently and see if you have any movement in that water heater. When you push on that top section of your water heater, you should have 0 movement on it. If there's a gap in the back and they didn't fur it out, then it's not strapped right. So it needs 2 straps, and it needs to be solid. Those are the only requirements, and she'll verify it, but those are the only requirements you have to sell a building in the state of California. Everything else, foundation cracks, bad roofs, heating, air conditioning, it doesn't work, those are all negotiable things that these guys work on for you. But those are the things you have to have So if you're thinking about selling your house, just get smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and make sure the water heater's strapped.
Then there are other county and city
Yeah.
ordinances that we have to pay attention to. So for instance, if you're in Alameda, how many people live in the county of Alameda? Okay, just a couple. Okay, well, a couple. Certain parts of Alameda, you have to have your sewer lateral compliance done, right? In Oakland, you have a sidewalk ordinance. If you're in unincorporated areas of Contra Costa, you need your automatic gas shutoff valve installed. And that's about $700. Plumber can do it easily, but it's not inexpensive. So some of those things you may be thinking about as well. Gosh, I had another really good question for you. I just lost my train of thought. Darn it. Okay. So pest inspectors, they're looking for different things. They don't call it action item and consideration item. They call it...
There's 3 different areas on a pest report. There is what they call a Section 1, and that is active wood-destroying organisms. That can be drywood termites, could be subterranean termites, could be dry rot from just moisture. And those are their bigger things. Those are the items that normally lenders want a clear Section 1. They want all of that work taken care of. And then they have Section 2, which is kind of like a maintenance item to us. And Section 2s are trim that's not painted, trim that's loose, or siding that's loose, and it needs to be, a minor repair. And then their third thing is further inspection. Like we're going through a garage and there's a big stain in the ceiling. Well, none of us know where that stain came from. So they have to call, and we call too, for further inspection. So we have to, a contractor, at the permission of the seller, the owner of that property, gives us, you have to open up that area and see where that leak came from. It might come from the roof, might have come from a drain line leak, who knows? But that's their third thing, is further inspection.
Okay. And then what we do is we take their fabulous reports, and you don't pass out when you get a 40, 50-page report back, because you're going to think your home is falling apart at the seams. But it's not. Everyone gets a nice, thick, juicy report back. And so we take those reports. Now, the pest report, they give us pricing for them to correct their Section 1 and sometimes Section 2 items. We get pricing, so we know what that particular pest inspection company would charge to do that work. Then they come back after if you do all the work, then you get a clearance report. So that tells the buyers looking at your house, oh, phew, okay, they did all the section work. There's nothing currently destroying the house. There's no dry rot. There's no termites. So we feel good about that. These guys don't give us pricing on their reports. So we take those reports and we take your honey-do list. I had this great gentleman, and when we were going over the reports, we decided what we wanted to get some bids on, right? What would the cost of fixing some of these things be? And in some cases, a contractor could do the work. In some cases, a simple handyman could do the work. And in some cases, we needed to bring a specialist in. But we used that plus the honey-do list. So he said, well, as long as you got a contractor in here, I've always hated that dining room chandelier. Get rid of that thing and let's put in something different. And so we can add the honey-do list to, the list that we're getting a bid for. And then you have all the information to make an educated decision on, well, what do you want to fix? What would be alarming to a buyer? Or do you just say, Dayna, or to your agent, here's the keys, just sell it as is. And obviously you're not going to get top dollar because you're handing somebody a problem, right? These buyers, and I hate to throw them under the bus, but the typical buyer is still your millennial. That's the majority of the buyers still in all the statistical reports that we see. And they are not as interested as maybe you and your fathers were on fixing things themselves. So they don't even want to know how to use a screwdriver or a hammer. It's not even of any interest to them whatsoever. So they're looking for homes that are just turnkey, move-in ready. There's nothing hugely wrong with the house. So they can just move in, unpack, go to work, and take their kids to soccer on the weekends. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm generalizing, but not everybody has the time or the financial wherewithal or the energy or the interest to do these repairs sometimes. So obviously you have to price it a little less because the person is taking on the time, the energy, the money is going to be involved in getting it fixed. So just something to think about. You said it perfectly, proactive versus reactive.
Can I
You can.
comment on
Okay.
us not giving prices, the reason
Sure,
for
yes,
that?
that'd be great.
The reason that we do not give prices of the repairs is because since we're certified inspectors, per our standards of practice, we are not allowed to do any work on any of the buildings we inspect. That way, that always keeps us as a neutral third party. We're just out there to tell everyone what the condition of this property is. I'm not trying to sell somebody a new heater or air conditioner or a new electrical system. I am just stating the facts of what's going on out there. And then you hire your own. Most of the time, since our reports are all electronic, the agents will send the reports to their contractors, and because our reports are full of photographs and explanations and where the issue is, they can pretty much give you an estimate right off our reports. But that way, I like it that way because we're always a neutral third party. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think that's really, really important. We strongly recommend our sellers consider doing these pre-sale inspections. It's the same reason why I like to hire roof inspectors, for instance, that don't put on new roofs. Because we don't want them to say, oh, yeah, your roof's shot. I can get a new roof on there for, X amount of money. That's not right. I don't think that's right. So we want the two separated, if you will. So now, and there's a lot of steps in between your inspections. Then you get the reports. Then you get the bids. Then we schedule the work. You will have to have decided, are we going to be living in our home while this is all being done? Or are we going to have moved out already and we don't really care because people can come and go and do whatever they want and we're not going to be there to be bothered, inconvenienced. But there's a time issue there too. We do have, Keller Williams does have, not that this is not a plug, but I think a couple other companies might have something similar where if you don't have the financial wherewithal, maybe you're cash poor and house rich, like a lot of us are in this area, we have a program where you can pay for all your repairs, staging, and whatnot, and then they get paid back out of escrow. So there is that option as well. So when people say, I need to squeeze every penny out of this home because this is what we're going to be living on, well, then the idea is you put $1 in, you're going to get $2 plus back if you do that right, if you do the right things. And so you want to get interior designers sometimes involved, your agent, because we know what buyers are looking for, what's important to them, and maybe what isn't as important to them. So now we want to talk about the stuff, right? Because we all have stuff. And how do people like Cynthia help you get from point A to point B so you're not exhausted, you haven't pulled your back out, you don't get sick, and we get all set up in the next place. So let me ask Cynthia now a couple questions. And I guess I will start out with a similar question for you, which is, do organizers, move managers receive special training, certifications, education, and what qualities should someone look for when they're hiring someone like you?
So in my business, you can hire people that have been trained on how to pack and how to sort through things that you haven't used or you want to get rid of or you're downsizing. And but the women that work for Carefree Moves we have a workshop. So when we hire someone, we do everything the same way because we have a workshop.
Just keep it closer to you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Just like
Okay.
this.
All right. And so we all pack the same way, and we pack really well. And I was just kidding you with the fact that women are fabulous packers because I think we've multitasked through our lives and we've learned how to organize. Just raising our kids and working in the schools or whatever we're doing, we know how to get organized. So if we go in, the first step is that I would go into a home and they're going to be moving, they're either downsizing or some of the families are upsizing. But when we're downsizing, we have a team leader. So there'll be one of the gals. First of all, let me start over. I go out and meet you and look at the size and the scope of the job. And
Is there a charge for the consultation?
No.
Okay.
And so then we work out a timeline, how long it's going to take to get everything ready to pack up. And there's different ways of doing that. I'll go through the house with the owner, and then I write up what I see needs to be done. And then we have a scheduler, Colleen, and then she arranges for 2 or 3 of the women to go out and help sort through a lot of unwanted things. So so some of the owners will have stickers. They'll have like different colored stickers. So when you go through the house, they'll say, well, this was my grandmother's and I just love it. I'm going to keep it. This, we haven't used it in so many years and I need to consign it or donate it or maybe throw it away. So I think once you start knowing that you're going to be moving, that's the thing you start thinking about, well, is everything going to fit into my new place from this place? And most of the time, if we're downsizing, you have to part with certain things. Some of the items, if they're very valuable, we recommend an auction house, particularly with artwork. If the homeowner has spent a fortune on some painting, they have to have verification of how much they paid for it in order to put it into auction. If it's a beautiful, let's say, grandfather clock or something, I recommend taking pictures of it and dimensions of it and send it over. We work with Michonne's auction house. It's at the Naval Station in Alameda. And it's really interesting because they have a national auction. They picture it and they talk about it and they send it all over the country. If it doesn't sell, they have another whole division for consignment. They'll take your clock and they'll put it into the consignment area of Michonne's. If it doesn't sell, they have another area for donation and they will take care of it. And it's really nice because once you part with that, if you don't want it back and you think it's valuable, then that's a really good way to go.
I have a quick question about that. Did they come pick it up, or do you need to pay to transfer it there?
Well, we have people who they have to pay. Yeah. It's kind of like, we used to in Walnut Creek have such a great consignment store called Consignment Plus. Some of you were, I just love that store. Oops, thank you. And it went out of business, which is really too bad. But there is one in Danville that I think is great, and it's called Home Consignment, and it's near Costco in Danville. And the reason it's good is that they have a lot of foot traffic. It's a big place, so there's plenty of people looking at, and definitely consign things there. And the way you want to do that is you want to take a picture of what it is you think would be, consignable. And then I would call home consignment and find out who's in charge that day of accepting or rejecting incoming items. And if they say, oh yeah, we could definitely sell this. But if they have a dozen of what you want to sell, they'll say, it won't sell because we already have 12 of them on the floor and they haven't sold. So it's good. And then you don't have to go out there. You can take pictures of it, do the dimensions, find out the name of the person who's in charge that day. And then if they would love it, they'll come pick it up. But I think it's a $50 charge to pick it up in our area here. Let's see.
Well, so I know we can, because we could talk all day about this, right? Because we talked about estate sale, consignment, donation and hauling, obviously, are the next runs down, if you will. Do you do any, or what do you think of the in-home auctions?
Oh, the estate sales?
No, in-home auction.
Oh, we've never done that.
Okay. I do know some move managers or organizers will do an in-home auction, which is a little different. It's done online, and then they group things together, and then everybody has to come that wins their bid. Their bid is the winner. They come and they pick it all up on a given day and time, and then the rest is donated. So there's different ways to liquidate our things that we don't want to bring with us. But my next question to Cynthia is, do you find it's easier to help people prepare when they're still living at home, and how do you get them set up in the new place?
So, as a realtor, you know that it's better if you're not living there when the house is going on the market, because the stager, he has worked hard to make it look really desirable to the most amount of potential clients. It's difficult to live there while it's being staged, because the realtor will call and say, oh, I have a potential client and they want to come over in an hour to look at the house, and you're panic and you have to fix everything to look perfect again. It's just so much work. So I think it's better if you can put the house on the market and then get one of your kids to put you up or rent a hotel room or an apartment somewhere. It's just so much work to try to stay there while you're trying to sell it. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah. But sometimes, for many reasons, it's not. The people can't move out.
Right. And then in that case, you try to just live in just a smaller part of the house so you don't disturb.
Yeah. But they do leave you your bed, so you can still sleep in your own bed, which we usually all love our own beds.
But you have to smooth it all out before.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that says, oh, well, I don't need to hire a packer or an organizer or a move manager. We'll just do it ourselves. What would you say to those DIY people?
I've got so many stories like that, especially when the kids say, oh, Mom, Dad, we'll come over and help. And then they bring all these boxes of all different shapes and sizes, and they don't even organize it. They just throw everything from one area into one box. So you have no idea what's in the box. And many times people will call us and say, do you mind coming over, and we need to start over. So we empty out these, it's kind of humorous. But anyway, then we organize everything and label everything beautifully. And after we've discussed what they want to part with, what they're going to donate, what they're going to consign, then we meticulously pack everything. And it's so meticulous. One Danville client called, and she said, my husband can't find the extra set of his keys to the car. And I was like, oh. So we'd packed like 50 or 60 boxes. And I was like, oh no. And so the gal who was packing up his den, She said, oh, it's in box number whatever. And I wrapped it in something and wrote keys on it. I mean, it was just perfect because I was so proud that I could call back and say, look in box number whatever. And, so the women are so good about keeping track of what's in the boxes.
Got it. Well, so, and do you guys, so obviously you do packing, and how do you manage the movers?
So we recommend movers that we've worked with, and you can really get abused by movers just because you go online and they're really cheap. It's not a good idea. You really need to go with a reputable mover that has a good reputation, which is who we recommend.
Same.
Yeah, it's you really have to do that.
And they have to have the right licensing.
Absolutely.
And especially if you're moving out of state, you need to
Absolutely.
check that.
Absolutely.
You need them to have the right insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful again who you hire. And
Mm-hmm.
I do have questions that I'll provide for you next Thursday if you come on questions to ask a move manager, questions to ask a mover, what to look for, what to be thinking about. Is there anything else that we would need to know about what you do, how you do it?
Well, I think probably the biggest bang for your buck is the unpack. Mm-hmm. The same women who've packed you meet the truck at the other end, and once the truck's been unloaded of all the furniture and the boxes, then we completely set up the household. We organize every closet, every drawer, every cabinet, set up the kitchens, bathroom, bed. We make all the beds. It's turnkey. You walk in and it's done. And I just have a quick story about this one gal. It's really fun. She was so upset because her family wanted her to move to a retirement community and she didn't want to go. And she was a very gifted pianist, and she had this beautiful piano, and she had one room in her home that she loved. She spent all her time there. She had her TV and her music and all that. But it got so bad that the family wasn't even talking to each other because, she didn't want to go and they wanted her to go. There are too many stairs and she might fall and whatever. Anyway, she ended up going to a retirement community. And so what we did is we went in and we took pictures of her favorite room, how all her artwork was hung, where her sheet music was. We did everything. All of the glass shelves in her display cabinet, we took pictures of everything. And then we completely copied it in her new place. And she walked in and she just burst into tears because it was just like being home. It was so nice. And then we didn't know what to do with the piano because it's hard to find people that love music and to play the piano. Where are you going to? So I called that community, or the retirement community, and they had a room where they do meetings and that kind of thing. And they took the piano, and it was right down the hall from her place. So she could go in there and play the piano, and then everyone would come in and just sit down and enjoy her music. It was just perfect.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
That's a great story. Aw. Well, so we're going to move on to staging because now we've been inspected. We've done some repairs. We know where we're moving to. We're all packed up and maybe even moved into our new place. And so when your home is getting ready to go, when your home is on the market for sale, those buyers are going from house to house to house, and they are looking for their next home. And at any given time in this market, they're comparing your home with 11 to 14 other homes for sale. So you are entering a beauty contest and a price war. So how are you going to win these contests? And so that's when Mr. Joe comes onto the scene. And I want him to just real briefly tell us, I think most of us know, but what staging is. And then I always say it's sort of an art and a science. Can combined.
That's true. Okay, so what staging is, and actually it's not as obvious as you may think. Staging is the craft or art, however you'd like to say it, of furnishing a home for sale to engender certain kinds of feelings in buyers. We want to give buyers of a property a feeling of warmth and safety and hominess and coziness, to add value to a particular property for sale. And when I say it's maybe not as obvious as you may think, because a lot of people think staging is, well, what do I do with this room? I don't know what to do with this room. Is this where the TV goes? We're not necessarily giving people ideas what to put in those rooms. We want people to, it's on a deeper level. We want them to walk into a space and feel good. And they want to feel good about what they're seeing and what they're feeling and the place they are, and that they associate those feelings of warmth and home and coziness with that property. So that's really the essence of what staging is, and we can talk a little bit more about how we add value to that as well, if you like.
So I had put here, there's an art and a science, and I will say that it's little things that you and I don't even think about. Like, instead of using a big, heavy, beefy, solid wood table, your stager might bring in a glass top table. And why might that be? What does that do for the space?
Well, it gets back to these ideas of what we can do to give if you keep in mind, our goal is to create these feelings of coziness and warmth. Sometimes furniture that we have, or that might, when I say we have, I mean we as homeowners may have in our homes, they'll be really nice for us and meet our needs and have a lot of sentimental value for us, and sometimes really be large, and because we like to have parties and seat 12 people at a table. We like to create an air of openness and neutrality in a particular space, and sometimes big, heavy furniture like that makes it a little bit more difficult to create openness and airiness and a space that breathes. Oftentimes, I'll have realtors ask, well, what's your style? And my answer to that generally is that our style is very neutral, with some people say pops of color or accents of color, and elegant. So we want people to feel elegance and neutrality in the color choices of the furniture. And I was hoping I could share some secrets. Can I share some secrets?
Oh, secrets. We want secrets.
Okay, so don't tell anybody, though.
Okay, just between us.
I mentioned bright and neutral. A lot of the furniture that we have is very neutral. And what I mean by neutral, grays, off-white, that sort of thing, especially in items like sofas. Sofas kind of melt into the background a little bit for us, and we can decorate around those. Wall colors, neutral and elegant. In fact, a lot of times, and Dayna and I have spoken about this as well in the past, she'll ask me, hey, what do you think we should paint the interior of this house? And I and my design team will come back with some suggestions.
No, it's fabulous, because I'm a realtor. I am not a designer. I'm not a color expert. I'm not a stager. That's not what I do. I have my own personal taste, but my taste and your taste have nothing to do with what we're going to do to get your home sold, right? We want it to be appealing to the most amount of buyers to get you the most amount of money. So there is a paradigm shift that happens where it ceases to be your home. Well, gosh, we always loved that, whatever, It ceases to be your home the way you live in your home, because you love your home. Most of us love our home. And then it becomes a house for sale. And so you're looking at your home through the eyes of memories and good times, hopefully. And the buyers are looking at it with their pocketbook, because they haven't made memories in your home yet. So we want to create this space where they can envision themselves making the same kind of fabulous memories, raising families, and enjoying life like you have in your home.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, I often think about when we go into homes that it's a really nice transition for homeowners to have not just putting their house on the market, which can be an emotional experience certainly, but to have the home staged, it's a nice transition because you still own the home, it's still your home, but then it just slowly becomes a product coming to market, and it's a way to kind of a little bit separate in steps from the place that you've lived.
Letting go, right?
Yeah,
You gotta
exactly.
slowly
Yeah,
let go.
it's real.
Yeah.
Some other secrets: we never overstage. So we bring just the right amount of furniture and furnishings for it to feel full, and again, going to these feelings. But we never overstage, so we don't have kitchens full of accessories and items. We have them lightly placed to give a warm feeling. We delicately style shelving so it looks beautiful, lightly staged in dining rooms and living rooms, living spaces, just enough for it to feel full, but leave enough to the imagination as well. Let's see what else. We like to have a variety of wall coverings. So on some walls we'll have canvas art. On other walls we'll have framed glass art. And sometimes we'll also use multi-dimensional, three-dimensional wall hangings, wall pieces, just to give it a variety.
And mirrors, too.
And
right?
mirrors, thank you. Yes, of course.
Love mirrors.
Sheer curtains, see-through white curtains we use not all the time because we want as much natural light to come into a property as possible, which is always ideal. Sheer curtains can brighten up a space because they're translucent, but they're white. They can also be a really fantastic solution if your house looks great, but your neighbor next door decided that they didn't feel like painting their house, from 50 years ago, and their fence is falling down. We don't want to hide anything, but we also want to distract the eye a little bit from maybe what's going on next door, and we put sheer curtains up, and it's a beautiful way to do that as well. One other secret: we prioritize certain pieces of furniture over others. I mentioned to you that sofas, for instance, for us, generally are pretty neutral and kind of melt into the background. But we prioritize things like accent chairs in living spaces, dining chairs in dining rooms, so they're a little more interesting and they kind of draw your eye to those pieces and make us feel like, oh, wow, this is interesting. This feels good. It feels elegant somehow.
Well, so now that we know all his secrets, why can't we just do the staging ourselves?
Well, you could, but if you do the staging yourselves, what I've found is I'll be happy actually to come if someone says, well, I don't really want to hire a stager. If you want to just have me out for an hour or two, I'd be happy to come and talk to you about how to do that. What I found when I do that, though, is what it usually entails is talking about specific pieces in your home that are lovely to you, have a lot of meaning to you, but aren't as effective as opening up a space and providing the potential buyers with that feeling. So then what ends up happening oftentimes is the sellers of a property will go in and, the sellers of the property will say, well, we'll just get rid of that dining room table and we're going to go to IKEA and we're going to go, replace it with this. And we'll get rid of, all of my, grandmother's portraits, photographs, and I'll just go to Living Spaces or Home Goods and buy some artwork and, lighten it up that way. And then all of a sudden you're maybe $2,000-3,000 into, that goes fast when you replace a few things, a few blankets, a few pillows. and it's not going to be as effective as if we have everything moved out and can start from scratch. But I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody, and I'm here to help you make the best decision. So.
And you basically just answered my next two questions.
Oh, did I?
Right,
Darn.
because we were going to talk about, is it easier, and I know the answer to this, is it easier to stage a completely empty home, or I do have sometimes sellers say, oh, well, we'll just bring what we need. We're going to leave the rest behind for the stager. And I know the stagers are like, no, because then you're forced to stage around their look and feel, and it may not be as neutral, right, or depersonalized as we would like to entice those buyers. Because the staging is, so I was even going to bring up this because once in a blue moon, and especially during COVID, when we couldn't even show an occupied house, it was really hard. We used virtual staging, which is quite interesting. So instead of looking at pictures online, which we know buyers start their search online, right? We know this. So you see an empty room. Well, that's nice. It's an empty bedroom. You don't know how big it is. You don't know where the bed should go. It's just an empty room, blah. So we were using virtual staging, but then when people would get to the home, it was very underwhelming because they'd seen all these pictures of it staged with this great furniture and, plants and whatever. And then it's just empty room. It's sort of a letdown. That I didn't feel that worked very well. Yes, it's less expensive, of course, but it's not. So when we list a home, it's like going fishing. How many men here like to fish? Nobody. One person likes to fish.
He likes to fish.
Okay. You guys can go fishing together. This is good. But it's like you're going fishing. You throw out the bait, right? You throw out the bait as far as you can. So that's the marketing part. And you're reeling them in. You're trying to reel them in. So they're starting on the internet. We want those pictures to grab them. We want people to look at the pictures of your home and say, wow, honey, come look at this one. Come here, come look at this one. Isn't this fabulous? Look at this fabulous fireplace. Or look at the backyard. Oh my gosh, the kids would love playing in the backyard. Or whatever. Or wow, that bathroom. Oh, I could see myself at the end of a long day relaxing in that bathtub or whatever it is. So I think that's really important that we're reeling them in. Then we've got the pictures. It's staged. It's gorgeous. Then they want to come see for themselves. First, the next thing they do is they drive by. They do a drive-by. And they want to see what the curb appeal looks like, because that's important too. So now we're still like reeling them in. We're reeling them in. Then it looks great on the outside, reeling them in. Then we want them to come in and experience your home for themselves. And we don't want it to be a letdown. We want it to be wow. And often when I'm doing open houses or I'm showing buyers listings, they'll say, oh my gosh, it looks so much more beautiful in person. So that's when you know, yes, we did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
We did a great job. So I think I just answered your question.
About the
Working with their stuff versus half staged or not, or
well,
empty.
if I can add a little bit to that,
Okay.
actually, is that everyone's circumstance is different in terms of what they need. Are they, as Cynthia had discussed earlier, about people moving out, or do they have to stay, or do they? Everyone's circumstance is different, and we always work with whatever circumstance the sellers have and what their needs are. Ideally, to add the most value to a property, and I can share with if you like some statistics in a moment as well, but to add the most value to the property, we want to have everything gone, clean box, freshly painted. If there are hardwood floors, refinished, which, by the way, paint, hardwood floors, and a few light fixtures, that's going to be absolutely an amazing investment. Game changer
Yeah.
for not a lot of relative cost. I mean, it still costs, but it's not a lot of relative cost. And if we can get in there with an empty box, we make it look beautiful. We know all our stuff and how to use it inside of a space to make it look the way it should look. Sometimes sellers will say, well, I've got a good idea. I'm going to save some money. and I'm going to ask that we do what we call a partial stage. So we'll come in and do a refresh and move some stuff around maybe that you have and add some of our own stuff. It usually doesn't end up saving that much money. It might save a little bit of money, but I would argue that you'd be kind of giving some of that money away in the marketing of the property that, because it doesn't look as bright and fresh as it should. Additionally, just from our perspective, and I have had this happen multiple times, we will come in and do a partial stage, and then it becomes our stuff mixed with your stuff. And at the end of it, I would say 80% of the time, have you seen that lamp? And then I'm going to go back to my shelf in the warehouse. Oh, there's that lamp.
They're losing their things, or maybe you're losing
Oh, by the
your
way,
things. Yeah.
Can you come back and deliver that to me? So then we're driving back to Walnut Creek from Richmond to deliver a lamp, which of course we'll do. But this is a little complications like this. And it's just, in order to avoid things like that, it's a lot of time and effort to make sure that doesn't happen, and there's cost to that as well.
And we have had to do some things like partial stage before, and that some pieces that are not going to work go and vacation in your garage.
That's right, yeah.
And so if you think about that, okay, that's fine, but why are you going to do that? If you're not keeping that table, why are you going to pay someone to move it from upstairs to the garage, and then where's it going to go? Like, if you're moving anyway, are you keeping that table or not? If you're keeping the table, then fine, it's going to vacation down there. But if you're not keeping it, then it needs to just go to its next home, right? So, like, we're trying to save you money in the end, as opposed to paying extra to move things. That's when right. It's like an interim move for the table that you didn't need to be keeping the table.
That's right. And again, it's this sort of transitional nature of some of this stuff too is like, well, maybe this is a good time to think about how you loved that table, and is that something you really want to keep, as in Cynthia's mover who wanted to keep her room as it was, or is it like, yeah, it was ours and it's run its course and maybe it's time to go now. So, these are
and I've got
exercises.
one more question, because we've got so much we can cover. But my last question is, and this happens all the time, how does staging work with our pets? How does that work with pets? Or if you're
poorly.
A smoker, I know, poorly. So tell us, how do we do this? What do we do?
If people are living there, we just did a partial stage in Lafayette last week. We just had to do it that way, and the sellers are living there. It's their beds. We put our bedding onto their beds. That's something that they have to do every day, is remake the bed and so forth. They also have a pet, a golden retriever. When I first did my walkthrough, it was the sweetest dog in the world. Just kind of sat there. I'm like, this dog's going to be no problem, and I'm not concerned about that. I have gone into a walkthrough. This is, I think, the worst house I ever went through. They wanted me to bid on the property, and it was disgusting. The people had pet urine on the bed, like the dog would go pee on the bed, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to work, So I just had to say no to that. Generally speaking, pets, we really try to avoid that for obvious reasons. Can I share some quick stats?
Okay. Yeah,
real fast?
Yeah, real fast.
I'm going to share you some quick stats about staging. This is from a recent National Association of Realtors survey of buyers' agents, so their perceived value of what they thought staging provided, because that seemed the quickest way to get that information. Okay, here we go. 80% said it was easier to visualize the property as a future home. 40% said they were more willing to walk through the home they saw online, and 34% positively said it impacted home value. A total of 44%, this is nationwide now, and I would say in this area, staging is culturally almost expected in a home for sale. But nationwide, 44% said that the effect of staging had a positive impact of 1% or more up to 23%. 1% or more up to, I don't know, I can't remember. 15% of adding value to the home. And so if we take the lowest value add to, I'm just going to say $1 million home, just as a working number here. 1% of that's $10,000. And the cost of staging, generally speaking, again, this varies widely, but I'm going to say somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000, something like that, for staging. Like, oh my God, that's so much money. And it is a lot of money. But as far as the risk of risking that money and the risk of being able to get that money back and add value is much less than that $10,000, that 1%. And there is opportunity to gain quite a bit more as well with the staging, at least according to these surveys. And if you walk into an empty house versus walking into a beautifully staged house, you can yourself see the value. So just keep that in mind when you're walking around there.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
thank you.
This one's for Cynthia. If I go ahead and use your service, does that save me significantly on the move? Because then they don't have to pack? Does it save me money in
For
moving?
packing, how do your packing costs compare?
We're competitive with any moving company that offers packing. So it's roughly the same amount.
And
So
do you unpack out of state?
No,
Okay,
no, sorry.
so we can get the package without that.
Yeah. But we get so many notes from people that have gone. I just got one last week. They moved to Virginia, and she said she'd never seen such a great packing job, and nothing broke, and so it was kind of really nice for us to hear.
So wherever you're moving to out of state, you can potentially find an organizer, move manager that can do that for you on that end, right? So there's two groups called NAPO and NASM. One is the National Association of Professional Organizers, and the other is National Association of Senior Move Managers. And they're nationwide, so there's different people throughout. And your realtor should have really good connections with people like that too, on the other side. So.
Well, this is for Cynthia. I'm not moving. I'm only thinking about it. But I heard you mention sorting many times. Do you have sorters who are hireable just to help?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't have to be moving to hire an organizer, right? You can have someone come in and say, help me with this mess. It could be your garage, your desk, whatever. So, that side?
Oh. So yes, like some people who haven't sorted in a long, long time, a couple, or maybe just one woman who's really good at it, we come and work with you side by side, and then also take the things that you don't want to donation. I'm thinking clothes, shoes, bags, the kinds of things that we all need to shift through.
Thank you. Actually, if I can overstay my welcome, I have two questions, one for Dayna and one for Curtis. For Dayna, what is the impact on the sale or the negotiation of a unpermitted project that is in all other respects up to code? And then the question for Curtis is, as you inspect a 1970s home, what is the impact, or are there any red flags raised by the fact that it has aluminum wiring instead of copper wiring?
Yeah, that's very common in homes that were built in 60s and the early 70s is single strand aluminum wire. And when that is discovered in a home inspection, basically we just recommend that they hire a qualified electrician to evaluate the single strand aluminum wiring in the building.
I mean, electricity, plumbing issues tend to be kind of a red light for buyers because it's a safety thing. But get a price and figure that out. And your question about unpermitted, Larry wanted to know what the deal is with unpermitted. Is it like a kitchen, a bathroom?
Swimming pool equipment, including a gas hookup, done professionally by licensed contractors, but unpermitted.
I would just say we disclose. Yeah. And then buyers, if they had more further concern, they could do their own. You can always do a pool and a spa inspection as well. And then that would be giving buyers the information they would want.
This is for Joe. What do you do with a whole wall of old bricks?
A wall of old bricks.
Also a great question. A lot of, masonry, when masonry was done inside, it was done with the natural color of the brick. Oftentimes what we see and what we like is to paint those bricks depending on the space. And, this is a conversation I have with one of my designers all the time. I always love just a beautiful white paint colored surface, very bright. She prefers a more graphite charcoal, depending on the space, of course. But painted brick is beautiful, just fine. We just did a house up in Vallejo, and it was all, this old brick, and they didn't want to change it, and we painted it white, and it's just brightened up the whole space. So
It kind of depends on where it is, and if it's attracting, if it's creating, if it's detracting from the room, or it's a great.
Yeah, if it's making it look like it's 1971, that's probably not the
Which was
feeling
a
we're
good
going
year,
for.
though.
It was a good year.
I do remember the 70s were good. But
That Chanel number 5.
no, I don't know. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you picked up an aha or two today with some good information, or maybe it just reminded you of something that you'd already heard before and you needed to hear again. Thank you, Megan. So let's give these fabulous folks a big round of applause.